Good afternoon and welcome to the ISL Maxum Surplus Lines Expanded Appetite webinar hosted by Stuckey and Company. It looks like there's still some people logging on, but let's go through a few things before we get started and just kind of get a little bit down the road. So firstly, if you want to ask a question, over on the right-hand side, the GoToWebinar control panel, there is a questions tab, and ask any questions. We're going to have a Q&A at the end, and we'll try to get any question answered. If we can't, we'll certainly do it by a follow-up phone call or email. We will also send a link to the recording of the webinar by email later on this afternoon. We will include a few things. ISL brochure, the PowerPoint presentation, the video recording, and a state list, unless we find some other things through the conversation that we need to send. Next, just to get into it, in 2017, Stuckey and Company is celebrating 26 years as an MGA, offering our agents access to solid A-rated carriers like the Hartford, Safeco, Travelers, and Chubb. Just to name a few of our carriers, I think we have 51 carriers now. We have 9 specialty insurance programs. I did not update the years in business in July, so that's actually 26 years in business. And that equals a lot of joint customers served. So who we are is, like I said, an MGA, but we provide independent insurance agents and brokers with the innovative insurance programs and responsive service they need to ensure their long-term growth and success. So we're really focused exclusively on independent insurance agents and providing our products to them. To you. These are the things that we do as an MGA. Sometimes an agent may have a program, a local program in that state, and we'll help the agent roll that program out nationwide, create the program, the underwriting guidelines. We rate to those guidelines, quote, bind, issue. We issue the policies right out of the office, endorse, renew, invoice, report. We integrate the systems so we can take XML or JSON data and turn it into a quote. Sometimes we handle the claims, almost always the marketing and the training. These are 8 of the programs that we have. The Safety Tech Insurance Program is a technology E&O program. We've had it since '96. We do an Aspire Architects and Engineers program, the Harbor Guard for marinas and boat dealerships, miscellaneous professional liability, Element for green energy, personal lines, which is home, auto, boat, and high value home, commercial lines, which is BOP, comp, auto, bonds, EPLI, D&O, those types of things for commercial clients. And if it falls outside of those guidelines, we have our surplus lines department, and is exactly what we're going to go through today. So next, I'd like to thank Jerry Lovin, lead surplus lines underwriter at Stuckey and Company, for presenting and making himself available for questions during and after the webinars, and on basically the ins and outs of the program, what he finds as eligible and ineligible and things like that. So really at the end of the session, I want to make sure that you guys can articulate what we mean by small commercial at the Maxum, understand commercial account thresholds, and recognize key targeted industries. So By small commercial, Maxum, under their binding authority, gives us the ability to rate and bind general liability, property, liquor liability, inland marine, employment practices, and professional. We can do 1 million, 2 million aggregate limits. On the GL, the property, we can go up to 2 million per location. And has that been expanded to?
It is. It's 3 million for some classes, and it's not a hard ceiling at 2 million. We can get exceptions for that.
Right on. And liquor liability, allows us to quote nearly any restaurant, a lot of bars and taverns and things like that. Inland marine for the contractor's equipment. EPLI that's thrown right alongside the property and GL, and professional that's thrown right alongside the property and GL on some classes. These are some of the coverages that we can add, and each one of the quote proposals is actually generated with a full policy. So we issue the policy as if we were to actually get the order to bind. So, if you have any questions or whatever on policy form or wording, we can go through that with you, or you can go through it yourself and show the customer exactly what's included and not. This is really some of the heart of today's webinar. And these are our small commercial thresholds. And I'm going to switch to the next slide. A lot of you know that we're big Hartford, we're a big Hartford MGA. And we, for the last 20 years, we've really looked at the most pristine classes of business. And Hartford's done a really good job with expanding their appetite to some classes that sometimes might not be suitable for an admitted carrier. But since they've purchased Maxum about a year ago, they've expanded their definition further. So this is the Maxum small commercial thresholds, and you kind of notice by industry. Business services, professional services, retail, wholesale, financial, contractors, which includes janitorial, manufacturers, tech classes, laboratories, restaurants. I'll switch back to small commercials by the Maxum right after I show you the commercial thresholds that the Hartford offers. I just want to show you that it's very parallel. So business services, professional, just exactly the same, retail, financial services, contractors. And let's go over some of the property values and sales. The general liability is on the business services is rated on sales. And it depends on the class, but it's right around 40 million in sales. Retail wholesale classes, 25 million per policy, 15 million per policy on the wholesale. Financial services is 125,000 square feet is how it rated up, but it can change a little bit by class. Contractors, 3 million in payroll. Manufacturers, 10 million in sales. And the property values on the other side of the equation is 3.5 million per location, all the way down, except restaurants. And that's 2 million per location, $5 million per policy. So it lays perfectly over these sales figures and payroll billings. And I'll show you the difference, and we'll include the slide so you can kind of flip back between it for yourself. But this is really the slide that differentiates the two. So on the left-hand, the two columns on the left-hand side, or left-hand column in the middle, targeted industries and expanded target industries are pretty much exactly the same for both. But what sets it apart is the expanded guidelines on the surplus line side. So if they're new in business, if their business operation is beyond the eligibility of, the admitted under eligibility, the industry served is a little outside of the guidelines. For example, a software guy, a technology guy that's doing work for an airport, Hartford will certainly decline it, or Department of Defense type contracts, Hartford will decline it. Maxum will look at that. Habitational, we'll do apartments. We will not do a motel or hotel, but we'll look at mixed use buildings, and that makes sense in New York, for example, where there's a lot of the times there's mixed use occupancy. Anything with a product, any product manufacturer with installation, a lot of the times will be declined by an admitted carrier, and Maxum will look at that. Loss history, any severity or frequency, if they've made some changes to adjust to the losses, they'll look at it. Location, if it's Florida property or maybe class 9 or 10, sometimes an admitted carrier will not write that, and we will take a look at it. If it's declined because of insurance score, maybe building updates, fire or burglar alarms, if they do a lot of subcontracted work, liquor sales, if a lot of general contractors will be an excluded class of business for the Hartford. If they have any rental or used inventory, child and adult daycare obviously is some of those classes that they aren't real thrilled about writing on the admitted side. Alarm contractors, some special events, and even things like auto dismantling and scrap dealers. And one of the things I saw when I was looking through this just a second ago was roofing. We can actually we can write roofers with Maxum as well. So it really gives us a lot of flexibility when it comes to underwriting, and that's really what a surplus lines market is there for. These are the eligible classes. I went through the last 30 days worth of accounts, and I wrote down a few things that we have been successful with. And roofing was one of the top. We had a couple of roofers that we wrote. Fabric resale shops. We had some contractors that didn't fit Hartford that we wrote with Maxum. We had a health club. We had an account, just basically it's a property GL. It was I think it was a municipality that we wrote, a building in Florida. We wrote a couple restaurants. We wrote a child care facility, a commercial cleaner, and we did quite a bit of lesser's risk. So these are things. One of the first things that I kind of draws my eye when I look at this broad class eligibility slide is airports is right up on the top. I just want to let everybody know I did that on kind of purpose because for shock value. But we don't necessarily write airports, but we'll do ancillary coverages like a contractor that'll go on and do some of the same work they would do otherwise, but at an airport. The software guy that I mentioned, some things like that. but it's an extremely broad class eligibility. What we set out to do with our surplus lines department is provide a stable A+15 rated carrier. Obviously, as you know, that's the best rating that you can get in the industry, and they were upgraded when they were purchased by the Hartford. So I think that's a huge plus. We're trying to increase the eligibility, keep the minimum premiums down. So a lot of the times with other surplus lines markets, you would get a $2,500 minimum premium and $250 policy fees, or something like that. And our minimum premiums start at $500. Our policy fees, I think, are $75. Regulatory compliance, we can handle the surplus lines tax filings, the due diligence reports, and whatnot that's related to the regulatory compliance. So we help you keep some of those compliance issues down. We wanted to make it easy to set up. Literally, all we need is an application, and we will quote an account. If we get the order to bind, we need to get an agency agreement and a questionnaire along with your license and a copy of your E&O to bind it and to pay commissions. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a second, but the 151 promise is if it's in by 1, we get it out by 5, in by 5, out by 1. It's an extremely flexible and easy rating system for us to use, and we can literally get it to you over the phone if you need to. And we wanted to provide transparent underwriting guidelines and keep you informed with exactly what, if we decline an account, why we're declining an account. If there's questions or concerns that the underwriters have, we want to keep you in the loop, and we'll back it by real reasons. And that, that's just one of the things we do. So with that, anything that might not fit your current carrier underwriting guidelines, including the Hartford or Travelers or CNA or MetLife or whoever, we would love for you to send those next 5 accounts to us. We can also, if you're consolidating carriers and you need somebody to look at your existing book, we'll certainly look at your existing book. And kind of to drive that home a little bit, we have what's called our 151 promise, and we will send you a $25 gift card for submissions of qualifying accounts that generate under $20,000 in premium, and a $50 gift card for submissions over $20,000 in premium. First 20 submissions in each category gets the card, but we wanted to show you that we can work for you and provide the service you need to get it going. So here are the commercial, professional, and personal lines contacts. Jerry Lovin is the contact for you on the surplus line side. If it doesn't qualify on the surplus line side, or if we can even place it with an admitted carrier, he will facilitate that as well. And to go over some questions, the first one is, do you provide the certificates as well? And yes, we can issue the certificate for you. However, we issue the policy right when you give us the order, so you can issue the certificate as well. So if you don't have the ability to in your office, we'll do it for you. If you do, then you can sure do it yourself out of your office. Condominiums, homeowner associations with clubhouse, pool, tennis court, etc.
Those are eligible. We can quote the homeowners associations. Condominiums can be a little trickier, but the homeowners associations with the amenities are eligible.
There's a comment. I was recently told that Aspire is no longer available for A&E professionals. Is that the case? We still have an architects and engineers program, and it's still called Aspire. It is no longer with Aspen, so we place it we have a few carriers that we place the A&E business with. But if you'd like to, I can bring that offline and let you know who the carriers are. What apartments will they write and not write, I guess? So you want to take that one?
Yeah, it's kind of tough on the apartments. The property values enter into play a lot. We kind of take those on a case-by-case basis. The huge complexes, probably not going to be a fit, but smaller apartment buildings, we can quote.
Okay, and here is do you write in all 24 states? We do not write in not all 24 states, all 50 states, and we write in 24. So I will include the state availability list for you in the follow-up. But they are our largest 24 states. And I think everybody that was invited is in a state where we write business. So I think we'll be good there. If you have a specialty program, we may be able to make an exception with the writing. Can you include liquor for a restaurant? Yeah, you bet. Restaurants, bars, and taverns. We can provide liquor for all of those. Contractors with $2 million in payroll. The payroll for a contractor, it says $3 million. It may be a little bit more and a little bit less than that, depending on the class. But this particular question is for janitors, and I think $2 million in payroll for a janitor is definitely in line.
We can also include general contractors that hire subcontractors. We just include those subcontractors' costs, and we can quote those for you.
I love this question. Do you have a wooden touch with a 10-foot pole list? That's great. That's probably a better list than a eligibility list. We can get something together on that. What's your thoughts on that? Top two.
Top two. It's pretty tough. It's really a broad appetite, and it varies a little bit from state to state. We know that we can't touch hotels and motels with a 10-foot pole. That's something we can't do. Beyond that, unless it's extremely rare, I don't see anything that pops up as ineligible.
Maybe an alarm monitoring company.
Yeah, monitoring would be out, but the installations we can do. Right.
But that's I love that question. That's the first time it's been asked. Do Maxum placements count for Hartford profit sharing? At this point, they do not, but I understand that they're Hartford may be working on something like that. And, but I think that's quite a ways down the pipe. Do we write products liability for R&D labs?
It's going to be touchy. The tougher product liability cases are going to be tough.
And restaurants are okay. Are food trucks?
Food trucks we can do, yes.
Okay. What is the commissions
Commissions, we typically pay 10%, but we definitely are open to negotiation. If it looks like we're going to be writing business with you, we want to make it worth your while as well. So it's open for discussion.
Right on. And, so that's with production and, some submission flow and things
Sure.
like that, the maximum.
We can get to 15 if we see like we've got something that's working for both of us. We can get to 15 for you.
Can you entertain paper general contractors?
Yes, we can.
Then there are a ton. Real estate agents in New York.
We can do real estate agents.
No, and I don't think that's not professional. Can we do professional with real estate agents?
We may be able to place a professional in the miscellany in our MPL department.
Yeah.
Not sure about if.
We'll get back to you on the professional.
We'll check on that for you.
I think we may. And I think that might be all the questions. So, well, thank you for those questions. That was great. A 10-foot pole question.
We're going to get that list of a 10-foot pole. 10-foot pole.
Right, that's awesome. All right, so let me go to the contact us page. I will get the follow-up email out to you. Really thank everybody for your time. We will include the brochure, the PowerPoint, the state list, the recording of the webinar, and the 10-foot pole question. And I think that might be it. So if you have any questions, or if I didn't get your question, maybe you have something to ask, you can call Jerry. His extension is 114, so it's 800-828-3452, extension 114.
Actually, let me correct that. That is not my extension. My extension is 127.
Oh, I'm sorry. So 127.
127.
And ask, give us a call and we'll go through it again for you, or get any specific questions answered.
If you have one you're not sure about, feel free to send it and we'll see what we can do for you.
Right on. And thanks, Jerry, for presenting. And I want to thank everybody for attending the expanded appetite training webinar for Maxum.
Thanks, guys.